Hello, I'm David White, and this is one of the legendary pub rock spots of Australia, Selena's at the Coogee Bay Hotel. It's located in a beachside suburb here in Sydney, and it was here just 5 years ago that INXS took their first big steps towards world fame and fortune. Few people in the beer and sweat-drenched audiences of those nights would have guessed that these 6 guys from Sydney's beaches would one day achieve the heights they have, or that they would be staging a world tour that would encompass nearly all the major cities of the Western world. To begin with, they called themselves the Farris Brothers. I guess they must have known that something felt right, because for more than 11 years now, they've stuck together through thick and thin. When John was still going to school, the family moved to Perth. The band followed shortly after. They played a lot of gigs in Perth and travelled up and down the desert highways along the west coast of Australia, honing their craft. In the name of love, yeah, you thought what a pity. Dream on, white boy, dream on, black girl, and wake up to a brand new day. This was the beginning of a new age for Australian music. Neil Finn of Crowded House had just written his first #1 single in Australia. Midnight Oil were causing a furore with their hard rock politics, and the Divinals were just starting out with their mixture of hard rock and sex. INXS were riding a wave with a lot of youthful energy, a shot of punk, and a hungry attitude. It was then the band changed their name to INXS, a name thoroughly appropriate because they were determined to take it to the limit and then push it further. INXS, very early in the piece, decided they were going to be the best in the world, and like, well, I guess an athlete determined to win gold for his or her country at the Olympics, they started a training program which involved refining their talents as best they could, then testing them against the best in the world. And of course, for an Australian band, there has always been the physical and financial problems of distance. The sheer number of miles covered, travelling the world more than a dozen times, as INXS have. And then, of course, there's always the emotional separation from their families. Don't change me out. Don't change me. Don't change me out. Don't change me. INXS were determined right from the time they first took this particular stage all those years ago that they were going to take their music to every person who wanted to hear it. They used the best assistants they could find in producers like Chris Thomas, who worked on their last 2 albums, and video director Richard Lowenstein. But somehow, though much of it comes back to places like this, these large Aussie beer barns where Australian rock and roll has been formed, INXS are an Australian rock and roll band par excellence. They cut their teeth in front of crowds of young people who demanded to be entertained. They wanted to have music that was tough and sweaty and thoughtful and made them dance. And the Australian crowds expected nothing less than the best. INXS have done all their growing up in public. They've been training for this for years.
God, don't change.
came together as INXS to have fun and write music, and I think that's been an intrinsic value to the whole history of the group.
The INXS family thing is I think, you know, it's almost mafioso, you know, in a way, you know, it's the family, you know.
Morally, I think there's so many different stands that people take in the world. Which one do you adhere to? I think the best one to adhere to is the one you believe in.
I miss my dog, I miss my house. You miss all the things that people take for granted when you live at home. They look at what we do and think, wow, it must be fantastic.
You know, the underlying sort of rule all along has been that we want to take it as far as it can go. And I don't, you know, no one sort of really knew how far that is, and we still don't.
And lately, this year especially, I think we've been doing the best show that we've ever done. Ever. You know? So I'm really happy with that. And I don't know where that's come from. It's just come out of the blue. I guess because we have had sort of success that we felt was reciprocal.
Laying in the dust, we finally see the down. Don't water them with your tears. Don't think about all the years. Rather be without.
We headlined a festival in Buenos Aires in Argentina. There was a barrier in front of the stage that was 10 foot high, which means that the first 15 feet, people who were right up against the barrier couldn't see anything. Somehow they started to climb up, and every time they climbed up and put their hands on top of the barrier, these big bouncers with sticks would whip and smash the stick on these people's hands. And then Michael's on stage and saying, we need to cut this out. Next thing you know, the crowd starts to break the barricades down, and they ripped the barricade in half. I mean, I'm just seeing an audience rip wood like this, tear it in half, and run on stage and try and physically beating up bouncers and things like this. And then the next thing you know, there's riot squad and police and machine guns and, you know, shields and helmets, and we're being like escorted off stage in the middle of Don't Change or whatever it was at the last song. And the audience is going crazy. There's mud flying everywhere. There's blood being, and at this point I was just hysterical. I mean, I was in the position where I was very frustrated because I couldn't do anything about it.
It crashes in all around. It gets in. Now take your hands and raise them up into the air. That's all around you. Now bring them down like a clock at 2. Shake your head. You know what to do. They wanna put guns in the sky. Someone out there ain't gonna like it. Well, it could be good. Make us love each other. Have to realize our own future. Oh, guns in the sky.
I think that there's definitely an asset by having the family tie. Having two brothers, and we have a great understanding and communication, and I think that strength, and plus it's an evenly splitting the band in half, which means that there's 3, you know, who are non-family members and 3 who are family members, and therefore the other 3 who aren't family members have to consider a family mentality. Has created a type of family environment.
You know, I guess because I have always been the older brother, and the rest of the guys have always sort of been a bit younger than me, you know, with the exception of Gary. You know, I've always kind of felt from the time we moved over to Perth, they all left, you know, I guess home and school and everything about the same time, moved to Perth to play with this band. I always kind of felt responsible for those guys from that moment on, and then when we moved back to Sydney and Andrew and John left home, sort of kind of felt, you know, partially responsible for them too. So I guess I feel like I like to look out for them in matters of health and, you know, anything like that. I mean, I think we all look out for each other though too.
So long as that's there, it'll always be around. And I think so long as we obviously we get along and we see eye to eye still, that'll be there. But I don't think we'll have a problem because I think we're naturally survivors, and I think that we've survived the worst situations. We've done some things which are completely against odds. People have told us, no way in the world you can do this or that. You can do anything you want to do. And I think the end of the day is be careful what you want, because sometimes you might get it.
You and me. Ooh, that's why. This is what we did. This is what we did. Don't you you need, I'll give you what you need. This is what you need, this is what you need, I'll give you what you need. Hey you, don't you listen? This is not the end of it all. Don't you see? It's the rhythm. Take you where you really need to be. Oh.
Sometimes I'll be feeling really knackered and like really tired before a show, and then it becomes like the minute where they say, okay, you know, the production's ready, you guys ready, and everyone gives the final cue, and the house lights go down, you know, and as soon as the house lights go down, you don't know where it comes from, but this energy just arrives and it's like there. You know, I mean, tell you the truth, the very first time the band played in Perth we had this sort of idea for starting the show off, you know, and we'd be all out in this pub, like sitting at tables with people, and all scattered throughout the bar, you know, and then all of a sudden Andrew would get up on stage and start playing this guitar. It was actually Long Train Running, you know, and then we'd all stand up from different tables out in the audience, and I used to have a whistle and I'd blow this whistle really loudly and freak everyone out, and so we'd all appear on stage together like that. So maybe that's how we learnt to do it.
You know, it really became a matter of learning how to cope with travelling, playing, not earning any money, but putting everything into something, you know, and I think it's worked. Yeah. Because, you know, in a rock and roll band, you got the screaming girls every night, you know, it's a really glamorous thing, and although people perceive it as being that, it's actually really, from our point of view, something completely different, because once you get in the bus and shut the door and you're off down the road and back in your hotel room, you're just the same as you are when you're sitting in your own studio at home or whatever. I like the free form of rock and roll. I like it sort of has a, yeah, it sounds kind of strange, a respectful arrogance to it, because it's sort of, it knows its place, but it's still a little bit wild and intangible, and, you know, and what's that noise, turn it off, you know, so it still gets to people in a certain way. I like that, you know. I used to think that it was, you had to have your show like a theatre, you know. And in some ways it has to be like that, but the more improvisation you put into it, you know, it makes it more fun too, because each night you look forward to it. I think it's inevitable that we'll release something live, and I think there'll be some of this improvisation stuff would probably be the key to some of the stuff that we'll do, because maybe it's as well giving something people haven't heard from the group as well. You know, besides just studio recordings, something that's totally off the cuff. Yeah, that'd be great.
Live is a lot more physical. It's a lot more physically demanding because you're not only playing, you're also trying to perform and trying to, sort of put across an energy. And recording, I think, recording is in some ways more important because whatever you put down in the studio is what you're going to be playing for the next however long.
We always end up going out on the road doing exactly what we did in the studio. And then, each night you might vary little bits just to keep it interesting. But
do you enjoy the performing part?
Oh yeah, I wouldn't be here, to be honest, if I didn't enjoy the performing part. If I didn't enjoy getting out and playing our music, which I really am proud of, to people all over the world.
What do you think? Can't think it all. What you gonna do? Gonna live a life. Fly, baby. You can't.
All we're doing next year basically is spending a time on a really good album and being at home where the heart is. That's where it is.
I think the group aspires to improve on itself all the time. It's the guys in the band. We're true to ourselves. We don't sing about things that that we don't believe in, or we try to, on the other hand, create images or situations that people can relate to and say in the lyrics in Michael's case, or for me in the music, they can dance to whatever, forget about their troubles, enjoy life,
I mean, if you're going to be doing it, if you're going to be playing live and travelling the world and putting up with sitting in the back of the bus, with the same blokes for 10 years, I'm going to enjoy myself. Otherwise, I'm not going to want to be there, And I really do get off on it. It's a natural high, I guess. Playing to 15, 20,000 people that are sort of screaming at you or whatever. It's you can't help but enjoy yourself, I reckon. You have to be slightly nuts if you didn't.
It's sort of strange that all the success is happening, in America especially, is happening at this stage of our career. Because I think everyone's like, Tim's got 2 children now and Kirk just had one. I wouldn't mind starting sometime soon. So all those other callings are beckoning. Maybe sometimes when you're down in your hotel room, they beckon very strongly. And the things that you've been ignoring and putting aside for years, the normality of life starts screaming at you.
I will believe you if say it's true. Girl, you know I need you more than any word spoken. I've seen you before, turn and walk away. You say you won't come back, it's just a game anyway. We are hoping, yes, and we're praying. This time will be the last time that we will fight like this. This time will be the last time that we will fight like this. This
just such a great thing, the Australian pub scene. You know, it's changed now, but when we started out, the sweat boxes, you know, there was no restrictions really on how many people they let in. It was always, you know, extremely crowded and sweaty.
You got to be able to get out of a pub, and that's one of the hardest things for an Australian band to do. Get out of a pub while retaining all the best, you know, reasons why you're good out of a pub, you know, and to push it on an audience. And you can't just do a pub show to 30,000 people.
The main goal, really, apart from taking it as far as it can go, is, in the end, that we matter musically, that what we've done musically has been something that's a bit different, something that's appreciated, and hopefully something that will stand up in 10 years' time, or even, you know, 20 years' time.
The spontaneous combustion shared between audience and band operates on a different level when INXS create with a video clip.
In most videos, you don't use a microphone, and you don't have to be. You don't have physical criteria, you know. So you just go out there and you're looking down the lens and you're just going bang, whatever happens. And on the stage, you have to actually be singing. You're not miming. And you have to have a microphone in hand. You have to watch out for this and that. Don't fall off the stage, and you can't say take it again.
All you got is a small lens. 21st century's yesterday. You can care all you want. Everybody does, yeah, that's okay, yeah.
In a lens, it's up to you to imagine how many people are going to be watching it. A lens is more permanent, you know. So it's a different rush. Before, when there's a lights, camera, action, it's a different rush. And an audience is just them. For them, it's special. 50,000 people is not that many people, really, compared to the millions that'll watch a video.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we work under pressure, and it's just like touring. I can spend the whole day being, you know, every day of touring being really hard to deal with, because I can only justify my existence by the 2 hours I'm on stage. And the 3 months out on the road mean nothing. It's only 2 hours a day that matter. So under that pressure, that's how I work, you know, and under those 2 hours on stage, that's why I'm here. like I say, touring, it's 2 hours a day. But, you know, they're the 2 hours that I really enjoy. You got 22 other hours a day that all kinds of weird things happen. You know, packing and unpacking a suitcase 50, 60, 70, 80, 100, 200, 300 times a year can become a very strange occupation. And getting in and out of hotel rooms and getting in and out of buses and planes and all that stuff, which appears to the masses to be the jet set life. Oh, that's rubbish!
And you got it out. You got it out. Find your hand.
And on the road, it's not a creative situation. It's extremely uncreative. And it's just reproducing. And in my time off, I really just go for the broke.
Exercise the devil in my mind.
Words, weapons, sharpened knives, makes you wonder how the other half died. Other half died. Makes you wonder, wonder. Well, here come the man with a look in his eye. Fed on nothing but full of pride. Look at him go, look at him kick. Makes you wonder how the other half live. Devil inside, the devil inside. Every single one of us, the devil inside. Devil inside, devil inside. Every single one of us, the devil inside. Oh. Here come the world, the look in its eye. Future uncertain, but certainly slight. Look at the faces, listen to the bells. It's hard to believe we need a place called hell. Place called hell. The devil inside, the devil inside. Every single one of us, the devil inside. Devil inside, the devil inside. Every single one of us, the devil inside. Ooh. Well, here comes a woman with a look in her eye. She's dressed on leather, with flesh on the mind. Words and weapons, sharpen the knives. Makes you wonder how the other half died. The devil inside, the devil inside. Every single one of us, the devil inside. The devil inside, the devil inside. Every single one of us, the devil inside. The devil inside, the devil inside. Every single one of us, the devil inside. Devil inside, devil inside. Every single one of us, the devil inside.
As essential to the band as their instruments is the role of their manager. Chris Murphy is the unseen extra member, the silent partner who makes sure the dotted lines the boys sign are the right ones. A competitive man by nature, he carries that spirit through to the office.
He expressed some interest in managing us, so we started talking with him, and things sort of figured out pretty well. He seemed to understand us pretty well. He's always had a great feeling for the band, I think, because of the fact that I think we work so tightly together.
You know, he's grown with the band. He's been with us, you know, for 10 years. 10 years, you know, and he's seen it all, which is great because, you know, it's not like you have to explain things all the time. You know, he knows, you know.
I used to describe INXS's work patterns as to a sportsman's. You know, a sportsman doesn't walk out at, you know, at Wembley and suddenly just win the match. He's trained and trained and trained and trained and trained to get himself into that position. With INXS, we took exactly the same approach, or I took the same approach. If we weren't working one night, we're rehearsing. If we weren't rehearsing, we're recording. If we weren't recording, we're playing.
Chris Murphy is probably sort of the sort of evil alter egos.
That's what I love about INXS. I mean, they go into a studio and make an album, and it's like, I don't usually go down for the first 6 weeks or something. I love staying away, because I love just walking in the studio about 6 weeks later and going, geez, this is a different album, isn't it?
I need you tonight, 'cause I'm not sleeping. There's something about you, girl, that makes me sweat.
On Kick we wrote, the first song we ever wrote was Mystify, which Angel and I wrote, you know, because we said let's go get a studio, and we were in Chicago and we got a studio together, and it's virtually the same song, you know.
Mike and I actually put this tune together, not on this particular piano, but one in Chicago, and very similar looking to this, had the white keys here and black ones here.
Oh, this...
Right, all vowels and...
Mystify.
Okay.
Oh, there's a mystic streets of blue. I'm in love, that chill divine. Some silken moment goes on forever, and we're leaving broken hearts behind.
What happens here? Chorus.
In the chorus.
Mystify,
New one, yeah.
you mystify me.
What happens?
One more,
Repeat it.
one more.
Mystify, mystify me. I need perfection, some twisted selection that tangles me to keep me alive in all that exists. When none has your beauty, I see your face, and I will survive. Mystify, mystify me. Mystify, mystify me. Eternally wild with the power to make every moment come alive. All the stars that shine upon you, where to kiss you every night. All veils and misty streets are blue. I'm in love, that chill divine. Some silken moment
great apart from the ending.
Richard Lowenstein came up from Melbourne and had to listen to a few tracks, and he listened to Never Tear Us Apart, and he said, well, look at this, and showed us a Super 8 footage of Prague, and we had to look at it and said, like he did, it'd be perfect for the song. So that's why we went to Prague.
Don't ask me what you know is true. Don't have to tell you I love your precious heart. I was standing, you were there. Two worlds collided, and they could never tear us apart. We could live for 1,000 years, but if I hurt you, I make wine from your tears. I told you that we could fly, 'cause we all have wings, but some of us don't know why. I was standing, you were there, two worlds collided, and they could never, ever tear us apart. I was standing, you were there, two worlds collided, and they could never tear us apart. You were standing, I was there, two worlds collided.
I think the most outstanding concert that INXS have ever done was the US Festival in San Bernardino, California in 1983. A big audience for me was 20,000. That was a very hard thing to conceive, is to walk on stage in front of 20,000 people. But 200,000 people was almost like nulling the whole thing. It was like, you might as well sort of just imagine it's not there, because it's so hard to conceive that I couldn't really deal with it. No one could, you know. It was like, there we are, okay, We just play like we normally play, and that's just, we walked off stage, and about a day later it just went ding, you know, penny dropped, you know.
It seems the longer we're on the road, the more energetic and the more intense the show becomes.
That becomes a pretty important show when we're going to go from, 6,500 seater to a 16,500 seater in a matter of weeks.
When it comes down to it, it starts at Chris, I guess, our manager. And from there, various duties are sort of delegated to different people, Bruce, our tour manager. And, to a certain extent, a lot of the planning is done in conjunction with ourselves as well.
miss most is when the tour ends and all of a sudden you go from like all this intense focus of, you know, like people, and the 6 guys from the band and the roadies and everybody's, you know, got a problem or has got a thing and everybody needs a piece of me and a piece of my time and management wants to know what's going on and counting money and calling accountants and all that stuff. When it ends, it's like somebody's just like pulled a rug out from you and you're like, what do I do, you know, where do I go?
Clear the hallway, please. Clear the hallway, please. What do you need tonight? Forget about the troubles in life. But don't you know it's not easy when you gotta walk on that line. That's right. You need. That's right. This is what you need. I get what you need. I will. Do you like it? How you doing out there? Quiet. You're all Australian, I take it. There's some hippie music for you.
And I guess in the long run, it doesn't matter too much the way Australia sees us, but it's awfully important to us because we really, you know, feel very patriotic people. We really love this country. We've travelled enough around this world, and I suppose we're lucky enough to realise how lucky we all are to be able to call Australia home.
Well, as you know, I'm just unbelievably proud of Australia, this great country, and particularly because in so many fields of endeavour we're taking on the world's best and we're beating them. And this is true whether you look at the industry level. I mean, some of our manufacturers are just taking on the best in the world and beating them in the toughest markets in the world. It's true of our sportsmen and women. It's true of our movie makers. And an area perhaps which isn't as widely recognised is in the music industry. Consistently, Australia does very, very well, and no one has done better in the music industry than INXS. And I don't profess an old fellow like me to be the world's greatest authority, but I know they're good. But more importantly, the world knows they're good, and they're right up there at the top of their industry on a worldwide basis. And I just want to make the point that INXS, in what it's doing, is as important for Australia as our exporters in earning income and putting Australia where it should be, right in the centre of the world's consciousness.
At last, we're not the underdogs, I hope.
I'm lonely. What do you think? Can't think it out. What's gonna do? Gonna live a life. Can't think it out. What's gonna do? Gonna live a life.
Activate now, radiate. Perfect sin, we don't believe in gravitate to Earth's own way. Decimate your lover's fate. And 98, we all rotate, hallucinate, segregate, mediate, alleviate. Try not to hate, love your mate, don't suffocate. All your own hate, decimate your lover's fate. One boss that's human free. The number 8, a white black thing. Can't trade the broken weight. Heavyweight, but just too late. Life predicate, I sex on 8, now never say. Appreciate, depreciate, fabricate, emulate, to dilate, special day, the MOA, cultivate, the accelerate, venerate, the use that rage, you liberate, fascinate, deviate, reinstate, liberate, 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 liberate.